Considering the topics on the agenda tonight, I would imagine most everyone who signed up would check on this.
You'll have a rare fever.
Mike's on.
That's what it's all about.
But I don't.
Good evening. It's 6:31. Calling to order the City Council for University City and call for a quorum check.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick. Here. Councilmember Bulman. Here. Councilmember Goolsby.
Here.
Councilmember Putt. Here. Councilmember Rubal.
Here.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Invocation tonight will be by Lori Putt. I think she has a guest tonight. And I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Stan?
I'd like to introduce to you probably one of the most heartfelt, loving, supportive men in Universal City. Mike Sains is doing us the honor of giving the invocation tonight.
Thank you, thank you. We bow our heads. Precious Father, Lord, thank you that we're in a city where we can still worship you freely and openly. Lord, we love our city, Lord. We ask for your blessings, Father, on our mayor and his entire family, on our wonderful city council, Lord, for each and every one of them, on our city manager and her entire staff, Father. Lord, for the amazing police department and fire department we have, we ask for blessings on them. And Lord, today we ask that we come together to keep in mind that this city council comes together to be able to best serve, care, and love the people of Universal City the way you did, Father, when you were here on earth. Give us that ability, Father. And Lord, we thank you in your precious name. And all God's children said, Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Being from Arkansas, honoring the Texas flag comes a little hesitant there. And first up, city manager report.
Sir, I do not have a report this evening, so we can turn it over to Ms. Green for her third quarter financial report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You should have in front of you the third quarter financial report. I apologize if we really should have had it to you last month. Unfortunately, with the budget, we are a little late. So as of June 30th, 2024, the city has completed 75% of our fiscal year. Revenues and expenditures summaries for the general fund, debt service, capital projects, utilities, stormwater, and golf course funds, as well as the investment report are available to you for your review.
You can just hold it up, the microphone up. There. Okay, thus far, the general fund reserve or revenues exceeded the expenditures by approximately $800,000. Ad valorem revenue was at 98% of the budget, which is $8,716,000. The debt service reflects revenues exceeding expenditures in the amount of $1.4 million. Debt service and interest and principal payments are made in August. So when we have our fourth quarter, you'll see that is being used. Capital projects fund reflects revenues exceeding expenditures of approximately $6 million. Once the bond is issued, again, project engineering will begin, and then once that's done, you'll start to see that this money is being used when the construction actually begins. Utility fund revenues had exceeded expenditures in the amount of $881,000. Total water revenue as of June 30th was $3.9 million, or 84% of the budget, and sewer revenue was $3.6, which is about 74% of the budget. Stormwater expenditures exceeded revenues in the amount of $216,000. There is a pending transfer from the golf course to stormwater to cover the repairs and work that was done on holes 8 and 9. That's anticipated to be completed by the end of this month, so we'll make that transfer at the end of this month. Stormwater revenue was at $600,000, which is 77% of the budget. The golf course revenue exceeded expenditures by $1,073,000, and this includes 100% of the venue tax that was transferred over 1.2. Please keep in mind that there is a $450,000 still needs to be transferred from the golf course to stormwater, as well as the $300,000 that goes from the golf course to general fund. The investment reports are also there with beginning and ending balances, as well as interest earned monthly for each bank account.
Any questions? Thank you very much. Next up is the citizens to be heard. We have one individual has signed up to be speak tonight, and that's Mr. Ken Metz.
Thank you, Mary. Mayor, Council, City Manager. My name is Ken Metz. I live at 13410 Adonis here in Universal City. And I want to apologize. I sent some stuff out. Then I communicated with people and I realized what I sent out shouldn't have sent out. So kind of eating crow here. But the only topic I want to talk about is the mayor's meeting that he proposed workshop to the City Council. And my concern was whether or not it was going to be open or not, and I guess I didn't read the minutes close enough. The mayor did call me and tell me that the meeting will be an open meeting. It's on September 6th. It's 8 to 4:30 at the latest. And then I talked to Kim Turner, and she told me that it'd be at the library. So I had a comment in there that I sent out to you all about that. Just my concern to make sure that I knew whether it was going to be an open or closed meeting, and I think the mayor needs 4 council members to attend to get a quorum to have that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. There's no other sign-ups for tonight. We have 2 public meetings. They're going to be separate, held separately. One is for the proposed 2024-2025 budget, and it is 6:40 or 6:39. Open meeting.
While everything is getting set up, Mayor, maybe I can just add some context to what you're doing this evening. So I recognize that some of you have had your one-on-one meetings with staff regarding the budget. Some of you have multiple, and we greatly appreciate that. It adds clarity for you and clarity for us. We did our budget workshop where we went over the budget. We had a presentation of the budget last meeting. Some direction was given to the staff. So this is a public hearing for the budget. So not really expecting much feedback from the council at this point unless you have it. But this is really the time for the residents to speak to the city council as a whole and get their opinions and considerations. And the council as a whole, you're not voting on the budget tonight. That's what I want to make very clear. Council is not voting on the budget. That will not happen until September 3rd. If you have additional guidance that you'd like to discuss amongst yourselves and bring back to the staff this evening, of course, we're open to that. On the second public hearing, which is your proposed 2024 tax rate to support the 2024-2025 budget, you will be voting later. You'll be doing what's called a record vote. And so you'll be voting, somebody will make a motion and you'll vote aye or nay. That vote will get put in the newspaper of record. For us, that is the San Antonio Express News and the Seguin Gazette, because we are in 2 separate counties. And so that is the vote that you will be taking this evening. When we get to September 3rd, you will be voting to approve a budget, and you will be voting to set the tax rate. Once September 3rd happens, you're done. Then it's just a matter of staff getting all of the documents to all of the taxing entities and agencies that it needs to go to. So 2 public hearings, only 1 record vote. Any questions on that? I just want to make sure everybody's clear the steps that you're doing this evening.
No one has signed up for to speak. So for this portion, I do have folks for the second one for the tax rate support. So we can close the public meeting and go to council discussion.
I think, sir, it's prudent to go ahead and go through the budget. We are required by state law to have this public hearing. Okay. So while I recognize maybe old hat for you, we still owe it to our residents to present it to them And then if they have something to offer, then it's up to you to whether you allow that or not. Or if they signed up under the tax rate, they can talk about the budget and the tax rate at the same time.
We'll give them that option.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Right, so I know that this is going to be probably the fifth time or fourth time that council has seen this. We did condense it a little bit just in the interest of time. The Universal City proposed budget consists of multiple different funds. And as you can see here, the stormwater fund, the utility fund and the general fund are the two that make up the majority of the budget, which is about 82%. And the highlights for the budget include cost of living adjustment of 5% for existing staff. A department has been created to identify costs associated with the city council expenses. Payroll expenditures associated with the EDC are now reflected in the EDC budget as opposed to doing a transfer from EDC to the general fund. The following positions have been added to the budget. Vehicle maintenance department has a full-time mechanic with a diesel certification. Parks and Rec has an opening is requesting a part-time activity coordinator. And the existing GIS analyst that was originally budgeted in the stormwater, or previously budgeted in the stormwater fund, is now going to be in the development services department within the general fund. The total budgeted for revenue for the city is $19,928,922. Of that, 74% is anticipated revenue that's represented by sales tax or other tax revenues. Ad valorem is estimated at $9,262,540. Sales tax $3,650,000, and other taxes are $1,752,000. The expenditures equal the revenue, which identifies it as being a balanced budget. So the general fund consists of 16 departments. Public safety make up 44%. That is the fire department and the police department. Parks and Rec and general services are the next two largest and make up 21%. The remaining 12 departments only account for 35% of the budget. And again, that would be for the general fund. The enterprise funds are the utilities, stormwater, and golf course. The utility fund estimated revenues is $17,152,487. Again, the total expenditures equal that amount, making it a balanced budget. And you can see below that the departments we've identified with each department what their expenditures are to equal to $17,152,000. And this is the department that's requesting. Oh, forgive me, I didn't highlight the fact that they're requesting a part-time utility clerk within this department or within this fund. All right, so stormwater, its revenues are $1.5 million. Expenditures are 1.4. It's still considered to be a balanced budget because expenditures are less than revenues. And this is the fund that the GIS analyst was moved from, which accounts for a portion of why the expenditures have been decreased. So the golf course revenues are $4,418,000. Total expenditures $4,345,539, which again still makes it a balanced budget. And within the revenues, you see the revenues are made up by the other income through the general and admin department, the venue tax, course and grounds, range, pro shop, and food and beverage. Of all of those, the venue tax makes up only 26% of that revenue this time. And the venue tax is used to cover capital improvements, which is $565,000, an overhead transfer to the general fund, which is $325,000, and then to cover the golf course operations at an amount of $285,000. But of that, capital improvements is 48%. And then we just identified here the golf course capital improvements, which were the parking lot expansion at $350,000, the resurfacing of the sun deck and wraparound, which is going to be budgeted at $50,000. Painting and refreshing the exterior of the building is $150,000. Last time that was done was 11 years ago. And then some upgrades to the kitchen lounge, which is $15,000. So golf course expenditures are identified here. The general and admin is expenditures that are related to capital improvements and these type of items, course and grounds, carts, golf, pro shop, range, food and beverage, and marketing are all expenditures related to those departments directly. All right, so debt service. The general fund has expenditures for debt service which are listed on the right side. Ad valorem is $1.6 million. We're using fund balance to draw that balance down for that fund of $415, and the anticipated interest is $83,000. The debt service fund, the revenues come from water sales at $1,437,000. The expenditures below equal the same, so again, we all have balanced budgets. Capital improvement for the general fund is listed here. The properties breakdown is at the beginning of the budget document, so within the management letter, you'll see the individual streets that are being repaired or that are anticipated to be repaired. Capital improvement utility fund, again, we list all the projects that are anticipated to be completed this fiscal year for a total of $600,000. Capital improvement stormwater fund. So these are all the drainage projects the Public Works will be working on for this next fiscal year, totaling $959,000. These are our special revenue funds. These revenue funds are revenues that are received but are restricted on how we can spend them. The two that seem to be the most important is going to be the venue tax and ARPA. So we're just going to cover this very quickly. ARPA, we're anticipating $15,000 of revenue. And we use fund balance here of $925,000 because no additional revenue is coming in for this fund. And this is going to be transferred to the general fund for the capital replacement for the ladder truck. $800,000 will be allocated to the fire truck, which we should receive in 2026, I believe. All right, so venue tax. Venue tax interest is anticipated to be $6,000. And the venue sales tax, we anticipate collecting $1.8 million. Of that, we're transferring to the golf course $1.1 million, and then to the general fund $650,000 to offset the parks expenses. And that's it for the budget.
Is there anyone who would like to discuss or make comments on this issue, on this public meeting, or would you like to defer it to after the next one? Now would be the time if you'd like to stand up. And I will close the meeting at 6:50. And we resume the council meeting. This is time for the council to discuss, ask questions. If you have any. Yes.
Does the city currently have a business plan that will ensure the long-term solvency of the golf course without tax revenue? Essentially, we have $1.1 million in venue tax, $80,000 in billboard fee, and $129,000 from hotel taxes that are supporting the golf course to the tune of approximately 31% of the existing budget. So the question is there, after 20 years of operation, a business plan for solvency of the golf course based on earned income?
So, Mr. Rubal, in the last couple of years, we have been moving toward that direction. When you were in the audience, and perhaps we went over with you at one time, and some of the other council members, we started to identify a capital improvement program for the golf course. We've also gone through with staff and significantly tried to reduce their expenditures. Also, once a quarter, we go back in and we look at their revenues. So that is the process that we're following now. So the answer to that portion is yes. for the rest of your question, the answer is not yet. So obviously, one of the things that we need to do now that we know that we have perhaps the ability to go out and hire a consultant who can come in and look at the golf course operations and its long-term viability and help us produce a, let's say, a working business plan. We are hoping if all of the budget items and all of the projects of the golf course come in, that we can come back to City Council later in the tax year, the new fiscal year, and ask for permission to do an RFP in order to get a consultant who will look at the operations and perhaps work on a business plan for us. Does that answer your question, sir?
The answer is no for today, this point in time for our budget considerations. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Goolsby?
Thanks, sir. Speaking to what Mr. Rubal was talking about, I like the idea of an outside consultant coming in and giving us that business plan and that here's a path forward, right? And I love how you said a working plan so that it can shift and roll, but it's always moving forward. I like that idea a lot, and I think it would be good for us up here and the citizens to have that plan going forward. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, we'll definitely look at trying to identify maybe some cost savings that happen during the year for the golf operations, and hopefully can come back maybe with the estimated budget of what that would cost the City Council, and then at that time you can tell us whether or not you would like us to proceed.
Any other comments? And I guess we can close this and go to the next. We have a public hearing for the proposed 2024 tax rate to support the FY 2024-2025 budget. It is 6:54. It's open. Want to make a presentation first, or want the citizens to be heard first?
I think it would be best if she gave the presentation first. That way everybody hears the same information that council has already heard, sir, if you don't mind.
Didn't want to interrupt your schedule.
So, ad valorem or property tax. And property tax is considered the most important source of revenue for Texas local governments. Texas Municipal League has reported that property tax represents the greatest source of revenue for a city's general fund. The tax rates that have been presented here were provided to us by a third party, the county assessor's office, and that they provide it every year. And then we check it for accuracy to be sure that there's no discrepancies. So the current adopted tax rate is 0.517499. The rate that the staff is recommending that we need to support the budget as is 0.519382. Here's the effective penny decrease on the tax rate for the city. That's approximately $200,000. And reducing the tax rate by that 1 penny would mean that operations would have to be reduced by $200,000. Homeowners are affected with the no new revenue rate. A difference of 1 penny would be approximately $42.45. A monthly cost of 83 cents per 100,000, and then the annual would be approximately $10 a year. I know that in the last council meeting, it was mentioned that didn't take into account the commercial properties or the commercial owners within the city. So I went ahead and tried to see what that would be as well. The reason we focus so much on the single family homes is because it's 80% of the revenue, or 80% of the taxpayers are single families. So I collected the top 10 taxpayers for the city, Cayman Apartment Complex, which is off the 1604, Loop 1604,
Hooker and 1604.
Their market value is $38,226,200. If We went with the current, no new revenue rate. Their, forgive me, if we went a penny less than what we're requesting for the budget, their monthly increase would be $318. They have 246 units, so each of the units would be affected by 1.29 monthly, or $15.51 on an annual basis. So that's kind of how it would affect the property owners. The majority of our top 10 are apartment complexes. That's really what it was based on. But if you look at $1 million property and you compare what the proposed tax rate is to 1 penny less, it saves them approximately $100 a year. And that's it.
Thank you, Christie. We have 5 people signed up for to be heard for public hearing. First is Billy Hill.
Speak here. Speak here.
Please state your name and address.
Not much one for formalities. Let's call it mayor. We're all neighbors, so I'm addressing all of y'all as neighbors, okay? Billy Hill, 9023 Phoenix, long-term resident, 75 years in Bear County itself. I just want to state pretty much so my personal opinion, and as I'm trying to regroup and figure out what all these tax entities are about, what does one penny do, more particularly what is the other compensations do. And as I've been told, if I want to fight any other tax entities, I got to go visit their meetings like I would this one. And I reply, I can't hardly handle this one. Judson or anybody else. Can y'all hear? Bernie, can you hear me?
Surely.
I'll speak up.
Miss Maribel is turning up the volume. If you could just turn up your volume a little bit, Mr. Hill, I bet everybody could.
Just make sure you speak into the microphone, please.
How do I turn this volume?
It is on, sir.
Speak louder.
You speak louder?
Yes.
How about that?
There we go. Good, thank you.
All right, I'm good. So to make it quite short, as I reviewed the past couple of years of what my taxes are all about and living in a nice home, and I learned what these entities are and what is 1 penny in relation to the budget and what is it in relation to an apartment complex, and more particularly the common individual here, the common resident. And as I started looking at that, then I was looking approximately 4 years ago where I was reminded that the council, or Universal City, had, at that time, we were about 0.59 as far as the tax rate. And I know it's relative to amortization or appreciation of properties, but I also reminded myself that seniors are 65 and over, that was pretty much locked in place and frozen. So yay for me and anybody else that's a senior. And there's comments to that to say, well, that affects the seniors and residents, but not so much the business properties. So I go back to this 1 penny focus and what does it mean? And the fact that we were at 0.59 then, and you fast forward a short 4 years, y'all have been able to cut 7 pennies. And so again, I use the analogy of 200,000 times, that's $1.4 million if we use that same analogy out of the city budget. So then I looked at the other ones, the more costly ones, Bear County and of course the Judson Independent School District. And again, this is me in my opinion, I was reminded of the fact that we were blessed with, I call it a windfall, of this $100,000 Texas additional exemption to residents, to where that's the one that really saved me a bunch of dollars. And so I look at that and I try to analyze it again with my opinion. And I'm 75 years old and a resident and a business, and quite honestly, I'm more than willing to support the proposed non-revenue tax and be able to move on and concentrate on bigger fish. And in closing, I want to remind y'all again, my whole main purpose of standing up here is not so much for the penny or the tax. It's again to where, as we're all neighbors, you know, we're all in it as one. Whether it be offense or defense, we're on the same damn team. And I'm always an advocate to where I, as a citizen, and a majority of the neighbors, when we appoint y'all or elect y'all, along with that goes the responsibility and accountability to utilize your resources and your knowledge to figure out what's been going on the last 10 or 20 years, which we're not privy to, the backside of the deal, to where we are currently in order to decide where do we go in the future. And as Bernie said, you know, we've got a business plan for the future of the golf course. I'm definitely an advocate of the comprehensive plan to see where we are as a city, get a professional view from the outside, and I'm not worried about the penny. And I'm not worried about today. I'm worried about, I got second and third generation family here, so I'm worried about the next 5, as Bernie is, the next 10 years to say, what are we going to do today based on the decisions, right or wrong, that we made in the past in order to make the proper decision in the future. So, you know, I apologize for getting firm sometimes, you know, I'm not a formal guy, but thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Mr. Hill did go over the 3-minute. Normally we do a 3-minute thing. Since this is a public meeting, you have some different concerns. I'm going to waive the 3-minute act, but I'm going to ask you to keep it really as close as possible, but use new material. If we not regurgitate material or information that's already been stated, if you would, please. And if y'all agree with it, if you get too long, if I see people starting to yawn, I'll give you a high sign. Next is Jean Elam. State your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Jean Elam. I'm a resident of Universal City for many years. My address is 8523 Athenian. I would like to say good evening to everyone, and I'd like to address the mayor and our city council members in regard to the tax rate. I had to write it down because I get too wordy sometimes. Our city leaders have a wish list, and so do the citizens of Universal City. Our wish list is to survive without higher taxes. We, the taxpayers, have been supporting the wish list of our city leaders and others in the community. We have supported businesses that we may or may not utilize. Has anyone ever tracked all the investments the city has made using our tax money, and what has been the return on the city investments made? We want to continue living in Universal City without facing higher taxes. As everyone is aware, the cost of everything is increasing, and it is more difficult to make ends meet, especially for senior citizens. We have a limited income to work with. UC has the highest tax rate of communities around us. Why would a business or homeowner want to come to UC where the taxes are higher when they can locate their business or home near us and receive better tax rates? When the time comes to sell my home, I'm facing the fact that we have 2 very comparable homes in the same neighborhood. However, the buyer may elect to purchase the house a couple of blocks away due to Selma having a lower tax rate. We have been giving to support various projects over the years and believe it is our year to be considered for a tax break. I would appreciate the council to review the new tax rate, and rather than raise it as years past, please give us the UC citizens some consideration to lower it. Oh, just wordy, page 2. We have to budget for our needs and wants. We have to settle for what we can afford from our needs list, and then save and hope we can eventually get something from our wants list. Hopefully the city leadership will do the same. I would appreciate the consideration to lower the tax rate. Consider the fact that the UC citizens have been paying all the tax increases over the years for various things from the city wants list that we have not felt we should be paying for. The citizens feel it is their turn for some help having asked council each year to reconsider the tax rate. Please review the citizens' needs versus wants list. Please consider extending an olive branch to the UC citizens by lowering the taxes. Our wish list is that we want to be able to survive in a city where we want to continue to live. Please think about the hardship of others and difficulty of what a lot of people fear just trying to survive. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm hopeful you will consider my concerns. I'm sorry I'm emotional, but it's been a long time.
Thank you, Ms. Elam. Next is Thomas Herndon.
My name is Thomas Herndon. I live at 311 Madrid Drive, Universal City. And I would also just like to request that the City Council really take into consideration that raising taxes is a very just negative perception on the City Council with everything that's going on from an economic standpoint for people of all different levels. What's going on in our economy on a national level affects what we do, but also what happens on a local level affects a lot more of what we actually have to do. So I would request that you guys look and see where we can cut, where we can make potential options of saying, maybe this is something we want to do, but maybe it's not the right time to do it if we have to raise taxes in order to do it. Like the previous lady said, I think everybody has to make those decisions of what we can afford based on what we have. And sometimes those decisions require us to wait on things that we can't afford to do right now without hurting other people. So tax rates, I know there was a discussion of what that looks like on an average person. I'm not sure if that necessarily takes into account. There are a lot of people who are retired and are over 65 in our area. So those people's property taxes are not going to be affected. So the people who are under 65 will be affected. And if people are paying rent and they're not necessarily actually paying property taxes on the home they live in, their rent will be affected. So it does affect a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And I think Universal City is a great city. I think we run great parks. There's some huge improvement in the last 10 years since we've lived here. And the park system, the programs, and the events that the city does, we do a great job. Our fire department and our police department and the city staff do an amazing job. So I don't want anybody to lose their job or not be able to do what they need to do, but at the same time, I feel like sometimes we do have to, knuckle down and kind of resharpen our pencil and work on that budget to get down to a reasonable level where I think just even showing the citizens and say, hey, listen, we're going to go ahead and do what we can to keep this so that we're not affecting people and raising taxes. Just speaks a lot of volume to people's respect for what's going on in the economy and people's lives right now. So, thank you, respectfully, appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Herndon. Next up is Ken Mitz.
Mayor, Council, City Manager. Ken Mitz, 13410 Adonis. I'm happy to hear the comments about a potential consultant for the golf course. And my humble opinion, if maybe in the interim until the consultant is hired,
Sorry, can you turn the mic on?
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you. Got it. Thank
sorry
you.
about that.
You're good.
Maybe could be put on an agenda monthly for the golf course to come and brief how many rounds of golf been had on this month, what the revenue is compared to what the budget is. Whatever metrics you decide are good to monitor until maybe the consultant can come in, because there's probably quite a few things, especially with the greens. The new greens, I know you've lost some players, so that way you can see month to month. Well, we're covering pretty quickly, or hey, way ahead of where we were last year as far as green fees. So just something to consider in the interim. As far as the budget's concerned, I have to admit, I don't have much information. Intelligence, be honest, I don't even look to see what I pay in city taxes, but if I want to say that if you have a tax rate of 0.51 and everything else stays the same, if my house value goes up, my taxes are gonna go up. So I think there's probably some confusion of people that are concerned about what the tax rate is versus how much taxes I'm really paying. So I don't know how to maybe clarify that, but, you know, to say, okay, well, the tax rate's the same, and they go home, and then they see the tax bill next year, and they go, well, wait, I'm paying more taxes. I thought the tax rate was the same. So maybe there's just an educational opportunity there for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Metz. The fifth person in line signed up is Rick, and can you? Mitch?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm right like he's doctor.
I was gonna say Dr. Someone, isn't it?
Rick Mensch, resident of Universal City for 28 years. I live at 110 Laurel Lane, a little cul-de-sac off of Forest Trail. And I'm here to just echo for a lower tax rate, 1%. Limited income, we've all been hit hard the last few years by inflation, right? I mean, I go to the grocery store, I share that with my wife, and food has just gone through the roof. I'm sure you all agree with that. Utility costs are going up, everything's going up. Why is UC one of the highest tax rates among the suburban area? Why is that? I mean, at some point, I think we need to put the brakes on. I'm just asking you to do what you can to lower our tax rate. It's important. One of the things that's bothered me a little bit is I live near where Kitty Hawk dead ends, where it goes down into the Civil Creek bed. And that road has been tore up, ripped up to put the sewer lines in for the new development. Then it was paved over again. And then there was some kind of a mistake with the sewer line and it was partially ripped up again. I don't know if the city's absorbing this cost or the contractor is. And now, of course, with the new road going in for the, I guess for the emergency vehicles, the road is being widened. So it's been torn up 2-3 times, repaved. Again, I don't know if the city's absorbing that cost, but somebody is. So there's things I think we can do within the city to tighten our belt. So what I appreciate y'all doing is sharpen the pencils, like I said earlier. And thank you for hearing me. God bless y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Mitch. No one else?
I would like to speak.
Normally we require to sign up beforehand, but we'll make an exception. So please, Ms. Eichelhart, you went first.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Kim Eichelhart. I live at 736 Garden Meadow Drive. I would like to commend Kim Turner and staff for bringing in what I think is a very reasonable budget. I think we're not far apart on like $200,000. Okay, that's all we're talking about tonight. We're a whole lot closer together than we are apart, and I think that's really commendable. Ms. Christina Green made a comment, I think at the last meeting, a very impassionate plea, if there's any cuts, to let staff decide where those cuts happen. I fully support that. I don't think it should be y'all up there deciding what gets cut. I really don't. That being said, the $200,000 is 1%. Okay, the last council meeting, we had 3 council members that said, hey, we just kind of want that 1%. They were actually wanting a whole lot lower than that, you know, but yet they weighed in and said, okay, look, we can go with just a 1%. 1% will actually allow city staff and this entire council to say and publicly print in the newspaper, on TV, on social media, and everywhere, we, as a team, united and cut the tax rate. $200,000 is all that takes. To get to that $200,000, you say, well, if we do that, the public only realizes a $10, $20, $30 savings. So what? I mean, $200,000 is 1% of the budget. To equate that to the common household budget, a person makes $60,000 a year. You're asking them to come up with $600. And that's it. It's allowed at $600. And I think really and truly, if we can come together, cut the rate down by about 1%, put it out there, hey, this is what we did. We did this because the tax rate matters. Yes, my taxes are frozen, but I fully believe that if you want to attract businesses, you've got to extend, take Ms. Jeannie Elam's term, the olive branch. You've got to extend the carrot. You've got to do something to get these businesses in other than just throwing EDC money at them. And so once we start building apartments, we're going to want to get businesses in. All I'm asking y'all to do is think about how close y'all are to each other and not how far apart you are. Okay, it's really that close. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Mr. Edwards?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is Richard Edwards. I live at 209 Trudy Lane. And I choose to comment against both sides. I'm one of the fortunate. I'm 65 this year. My taxes are frozen. Why do I care? Because I do. My biggest concern is that everyone take a good, hard look and apply moral and virtue the best they can to understand what is really needed and what isn't. I mean, if by all means taxes must be raised, they should be raised as minimal as possible, and it should be a must. If we are going to err, we should be erring on the side of the residents who are feeling the pain of this crazy inflation going on. Now, if at all possible that the needs can be handled, the city can function, and you can lower the taxes even minimally, that would be the way to go. If you have to keep them the same, if there's money you can transfer from one fund to another or do whatever, all I'm saying is take it seriously, consider, I would say most here are in a fortunate situation. I haven't had to cut what I buy from the store, nor change to cheaper brands, but every month I'm starting to wonder, am I going to get there? Some people have been there all year. We need to consider them. So, all I'm saying is, I know you're all good people, you're intelligent, and I hope you make the right decision when it comes time to voting as what to do and how to best handle funding our budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. And I close the meeting at 7:20 and turn it over back for council discussion.
So you can discuss now, if you would like, on the proposed tax rate to support the 2024-25 budget, or you can wait to do that under tab 1 before you do your record vote.
Action item number 9, tab 1.
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and do that. We'll do the, defer that over. That's okay with everyone? All right.
If you're going to do that, then you're on number 7, announcements.
Now we're going to city manager's announcements.
Thank you, sir. I do have a few items on here. For those of you who are in the room or who got your Impact Community News, you probably saw a little postcard in there regarding our Civic Ready. We hope that people will take action on that, because if you really want to know what's going on in your neighborhood, in the city, why the water's out, all the construction projects, everything else, that is the way to be informed. Thank you, Maribel. So it was a card that came out. We will be continually pushing that until we can get the maximum amount of people possible on that. So it's a great program. If it's just your neighborhood, we can geofence it, and only you and your neighbors are going to get it. If it's citywide, we can do it citywide. If it's like yesterday, it was just 4 streets on the odd side that didn't get trashed, we can geofence it and just notify them. So, but we can't tell you any of this if people don't sign up. They'll have to figure it out through the grapevine, I guess. So we're pushing that. The golf course, the greens are coming along very, very well. If you follow social media, they've had some posts out there. I don't follow it, but if you do, I've heard there's posts out there on the greens coming in. So on September 12th, it's going to kind of be the first time anybody gets to play. So the golf course is holding a Thursday night scramble, and so people can sign up to be on a team and play with that relaunch. And then on September 13th, it will be open to the public. Now, in the last few months, actually many months, there's been a lot of projects going on at the golf course. So coming up in October, the golf course staff is going to be prepared to give you an overview of all of those projects and then let you know, on time, on budget, and all those type of things. So we'll do that in October. We are coming to the end of the current fiscal year, so we are working now to determine if we're going to have to do any budget amendments. So if there are budget amendments, if any, we will be presenting those to council on September 17th. Last year, we did an unusual project in our court, and it was called a case reduction campaign. And it pertained to people who had outstanding warrants. Interesting enough, when you have an outstanding warrant, there is a lock on your driver's license, and you cannot go get it renewed, or if somebody runs it, they're gonna say, hey, you got a warrant, maybe we don't wanna hire you, or maybe we can't give you a loan. So this is a campaign. We are sending postcards out to everybody who currently has a warrant with the city, and in the month of September, they can come in and set up a payment plan. Once they set it up and sign it, we will release the hold on their driver's license, and we will also reduce the amount that they owe. So any fees that might have been accumulating over the months or the years that they had it will be dropped, and it will remain dropped as long as they stay on their payment plan. We had great success with that last year, and so we're a little harder campaign on that this year, hoping that we can help some of these people clear out their obligations. If you would like to pay attention to what's happening at the library, they have put out their fall calendar. I don't have a copy of it because we're working it into the main city calendar now instead of a separate calendar. And so they have already set their events for adults and kids and little kids for the next 3 months. So that's out there to look at. The police department and I guess the fire department and public works, all the departments really. In the upcoming months, we're going to be doing an active shooter exercise. We try to do that at least once a year with the other different outside agency that we might work, whether it be a school district or the college. And so we have that coming up as well. We'll notify people when that happens because it's very disconcerting to a neighborhood, whether it's in our city or another, that all of a sudden all police and the fire from us and a bunch of agencies are there. So we'll be getting that information out. We've been talking about some street programs. We had mentioned that we were ready to go and you approved the contractor for the Hillview reconstruction, and that is going to start on September 23rd. And the Public Works Department has been working with all the residents in that area to prepare them because as we know, everybody wants their street done until their street has to be done, and then they realize they have months of walking blocks to get to and from their house. So that's all I have for tonight, so thank you.
Thank you. For the council members' comments, we'll start with Ms. Putt.
Comments. Pumpkin patch is getting ready. We're gearing up. We have our first big meeting tomorrow night. We have 19 nonprofits that will be coming in. Last year we gave 18 nonprofits $49,000. They earned it. We worked it. We're real excited, so all October, please, 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 come visit, bring your grandkids and your kids and take pictures. This is kind of a personal comment. I've been sitting out there for a long time. It's really hard right here, going through the budget. And yes, we're over 65, and yes, we are on Social Security, and heaven forbid, I just had a huge plumbing bill. It's hard to make a decision that really is going to impact so many. I personally feel, going through this process with everyone, that there isn't any fluff. I know there's a lot of talk about wants and needs. I think there aren't any wants in our budget. They've worked very diligently through it, and I've seen most of these directors for many years and struggle. Parks, look how we looked a few years ago, when we finally started working on that. This is a really hard decision, and everyone has done their homework, and everyone here on the dais has done a lot of homework. We've met with them. I'm sure their eyes roll when they see caller ID when we're calling with the same question they just answered 6 times. Please don't think we take this lightly. We all have our opinions that we'll discuss a little bit later, but I want you to know that we take this very seriously, and it's hard. It's hard, and we do hear you. Whether we vote for it with you or not with you, we are listening to you, and we really care about it. So that's all I have this morning.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I would just like to jump on with or kind of continue on where Lori was, and just say we do really listen carefully, and we watch and we talk to the city staff and look at what they're putting forward, and seeing that we're adding a roof to the fire department, and could we put that off another year? Sure. Is it in the right interest for the building? We're just kicking down the can another year to another council to have to make a hard decision, because each year 3 of us can age out, or we have to age out, go up for reelection. Yep, age out. You're too old now. But I think we're all aware of inflation, and that impacts each one of us, but it also impacts the city in trying to serve its community. And so everybody's feeling the pain of what's going on in our economy. It impacts all of us, and we do have to really consider what's going to serve the community in the right way. And I will say that one of my long-term things is I recognize that our tax rate is high compared to other communities who have got a better source of sales tax. And we really, I'm really focusing on the long game, where we're looking at how do we encourage businesses to come here? How do we make it desirable for businesses to come here so that we can have more sales tax revenue to really provide true, meaningful property tax relief? Because right now, if we don't do it now, we're just kicking it down for another year. And I don't feel comfortable doing that year over year to each council and making them have to make the hard choices. I want to do what's right for the community each year, but I want to invest in how do we make this better so that we don't have to do it every year, that we have a cushion, we have we have more sales tax coming in. So, thank you.
Councilmember Rubal.
Difference between a $300,000 house tax between our neighbors in the Phoenix area and essentially next door in Selma. If this tax rate goes through, $300,000 house is not pennies, but the difference is $994. That's $9,440 over 10 years. That's the difference in the sales tax between those 2 neighborhoods. Now, considering what we're kicking down the line is not quite a view that I share, and I don't share it for this reason. because within the budget, there are programs that have expanded. Within the capital improvements listing, there definitely are things that are not absolute priorities for this budget cycle. I've met with the staff on several occasions. I understand their point of view. However, that being said, they have not been able to drop the budget by one chair of furniture request compared to an AED request in the fire department. So basically, when we look at the budget, essentially we're faced with looking at $152,000 that are that are tied to vehicle maintenance, where we have a $450,000 vehicle maintenance department that doesn't seem to be able to whittle that down any. We have essentially, we're behind the power curve in getting money for the fire truck because we're planning to start accrediting our needs for future 4 to 5 years in the future. Our new finance director's a jewel. We have to do everything we can to keep her. She has a long-term goal and plan in mind. That said, working through the budget workshop, there was not any commitment for a 1 penny decrease in the budget. So the proposed budget, we're in this continuous cycle where council is not asked to give input on the budget cycle, even if essentially we want to give to the residents back the money that they've earned, okay, or not use the money that they've earned. Why should we figure out what the needs of our residents are? Why can't we keep as much money in their pocket to handle their food needs, to handle their rent needs? Many in the dais have come up from different areas. I grew up in a coal mining town where I stood in line for essentially some peanut butter and some dried milk. So basically I know where some of these people are coming from. We should not take money out of their pockets. We need to leave them have the discretion and the dignity to pay for their rent, to pay for their food, and to pay for their medical expenses. So basically, I'm against the rate that's been proposed. I would not like to see just a $200,000 decrease, but a decrease that's significant for our people. So forgive me, Mr. Mayor, for taking so long, but this is an impassioned plea to council to do what they say they were going to do in public to reduce our tax rates. They've said it in public, now let them say it on this dais. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Rubal. Councilmember Vaughan.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to point out to everybody that the council message board is now live. If you want to go to the bottom of the city's webpage, you can see some of the discussions that we're going to have, and I encourage council members to use it. It might make this meeting a little bit faster and more productive if we can get a little bit of this done on the message board and not have to do as much here. So that's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Good comment. Councilmember Goolsby.
Should I put my bugs on the message board? Or?
Oh, wow.
Okay. I'm good. I'll get on my soapbox later. Thanks, sir.
Okay. Councilmember Bolton.
I just want to thank city staff because it was super awesome to open up the community impact and get that little flyer because I know you mentioned it, but I didn't do it. And then when it came in the mail, I was like, oh, cool. Like, this is a great physical reminder to sign up. So I thought that was really awesome because I'm not necessarily like going to find it on social media. And I also got really great feedback from like residents that they're signing up, that they really enjoy it, that it's been working so far, they've been getting stuff. And I think that's really cool. I think a lot of the residents especially when we had Guidry Council, we're like, hey, it'd be really awesome if we could use this for like lots of events, like so that we know what's going on. And I think that's an awesome idea. And like, I think it's a good way to use it as much as we humanly can. Because I think spam me with everything. Like I want to know everything that's going on. No, but I think it would be fun to just, you know, especially events, because not everyone has social media. And so they don't know if like the pumpkin patch or whatever, just promote everything. So awesome feedback for it. So I just want to say thank you. That was super amazing. To our residents, thank you guys all for coming out and speaking on the tax rate. Ms. Elam, watching you get emotional, I get just as emotional. So I can wholeheartedly understand that sometimes when you wear your heart on your sleeve, it's kind of hard. And like I said, it's hard not to take everyone's, you know, pleas to heart. And like I said, obviously, yes, we all do take it very seriously. And it's hard to, you know, it's hard. It's hard up here because I'm always going to fight for lower taxes. I'm always going to fight for you guys. But doesn't mean that everybody else takes that same approach. And so I just appreciate you guys coming and taking the time to speak, because I always tell everyone, if you only come to one city council meeting a year, this is the one, because I feel like this is where you can have the most amount of change to something that really affects you guys the most, which is taxes. So I appreciate everyone who took the time to speak tonight. On another note, Mr. Mayor, I've been here since 5:30 and I did not use the restroom. Is there any chance?
They asked,
Of course you could, like after, would that be okay?
But I won't make it long.
Okay, no, don't take your time, I just after.
That will be great.
Thank you.
I've asked, we have the Texas Municipal League Intergovernmental List Pool election is coming up. Now, we vote normally as a block. I've given out with the ballots to each of the council members. We're going to vote in 4 areas. I've asked for their input and put it in my box a week from tomorrow. And we'll consolidate it together into a single voting entity and move forward. For local businesses, we had last week, Shirts held a Filipino food fest, and it's actually sponsored by the Filipino Chamber of Commerce, which is it covers about the bottom half of Texas. I thought it was just a local area. It is really basically almost Texas-wide, and they are networking between the culture, Filipino culture. We have, they had a cook-off for the adobo, one of the national dishes. Our chef, Arby from Halls, which is here in Universal City, won the showdown. And she made it in there in that area. So if you get a chance to go by the Mahals, stop in, give them congratulations. They really did a great job there and nice showing. Philippines was one of the few areas I did not get to visit, but I've worked with a lot of Filipinos over the years, and it's really a neat culture. And I actually learned some things in there, different cultures and the influences from Spanish America to Maui to quite a few other areas. It's quite interesting. We got a lot of things to discover tonight. I'm going to ask the council as we go forward to take a look at. I'm adamant that we do not raise taxes unless it's absolutely necessary. The key thing we have to look for here is not so much wants versus needs, because each department has needs, and some of their needs may be a want for somebody else, and a want for somebody may be a need for somebody. Just like in your family. You know, you may have something that is just a want for you, but it's actually a need for somebody else. I'm going to use the term future generations. The actions you take today, whatever tax rate you take and you agree upon, if you take anything away from it, and I'm basing this on my own personal experience from past budgets, from my life whenever I did budgeting for Air Force personnel throughout services. And when you cut back on something, if you're really saving it, that's fine. But if you're cutting back on something that you're having to delay it, I can't buy this now because we have to put it down, and we're not putting any money to it for buy down for future, then when it comes based on the economy right now, sometimes it's going to cost you twice as much a year later or 2 years later. And so that means the generation, the next cycle, they've got to figure out midpoint this time next year, we'll be sitting here saying, we did not do this, So now we need to do this because now it's imperative and it's double the price or half the price above what it was. Doesn't mean to say that if we don't make the change, that those changes are not going to happen in between, because something can always break down. The economy does affect city government as well as state government. We don't get any cut rates. So I just want to be aware that I'm not against either one of the tax rates, but if we take anything away, we're just deferring it. We're not saving anything. There's not anything in here that we can do away with. We just don't need it. That's my opinion. I'm going to go on break for, let's go on break for 10 minutes.
So much. Me first.
Do you have any butterfly video we can watch?
No, I didn't.
The city's it's cheap
It is 8:51, excuse me, 8:51, and we're reconvening back in the meeting. Excuse me very much.
7:51, sir.
7:51.
7:51, right?
Yeah, not 8:51.
Not 8:51.
I say 8:51.
Yes, that's almost bedtime.
My apologies. If I keep that up, everything will be time, it'll be time for Barry Mason. Section 8, we got a vote on tab A, the consent agenda. All matters listed under this item is considered to be routine to City Council and will be enacted in one motion. And that's there's no separate discussion on any of the items. Nothing was pulled, so.
Move to approve.
Second.
Conversation, discussion, call for the vote.
Councilmember Vaughan,
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman,
Aye.
Councilmember Putt,
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Now we'll carry on into the action items. The vote for no tab 1 is a recorded vote for the proposed 2024 tax rate, and we'll schedule a public hearing. The purpose of this is to come to an agreement on the proposed tax rate. And I will entertain a motion. Who's first?
I wanted to ask a question before making the motion.
Sure. By all means, let's go through.
All right. So I said I'd get my soapbox a little bit later.
Yes.
I'm sorry. So I've been doing this for a while. I've been doing this longer than anybody else in the board except for you, but you're in a different position. So I can't say that. But 10 years ago, when I got on this council, we fought because there was nothing we can do. We can't do this, we can't do that. The city can't do this, the city can't do that. There's no money for this, there's no money for that. It was very frustrating. And every year for 6 years, we raised the tax. We raised the tax. And we deliberated on how much do we raise it? What is an appropriate amount? And what can we kick it down the road? So we did that for 6, 7 years. Then we said, and I remember saying, this is the last year. I'm not up for raising taxes anymore. We're stopped. And then I remember just having a frustration when council wanted to go higher than what I was happy with, and I, for the first time, voted against the tax rate. And then I know that city manager and I have sat down multiple occasions, and there is a thing that was called the Goolsby rate, which was essentially almost no new tax, but something off of the wish list. That was always kind of where we landed. And I always like to round that to as many zeros as possible. I don't like all the decimal points. So this current budget, staff has a list of things that that would be good to put on there. But understanding what the citizens need, understanding where we're sitting, staff has come down. And I feel like staff has really hit so close to the Goolsby rate minus the zeros I'm happy with this, but in that spirit of cooperation, you would like at least 200,000 out of the budget. I would love to put 200,000 back in the budget. Let's meet somewhere in the middle. If we were to reduce it $100,000, in that spirit of cooperation, is that something that, I'm just curious if other council members could get behind? I know I can't really, I don't know, can I ask for a consensus? Can I ask that?
Actually, we're just doing discussion today, no consensus, just to discuss. We'll take, you make a suggestion, you make a motion for
I make a motion, we do that $100,000 thing less.
So right there, it says compromise next to it.
So that's a M&O
That's
of,
the city proposed, that's what we proposed, that's the bid.
so it'd be an M&O of .429626, way too many. An INS of .084756 with a total of .514382. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and we have a second.
I'm sorry, could you tell us where you have that number? Because we don't have it in any of our records, so we're kind of making stuff up on the fly without her having a chance to look at it.
I'm trusting the CPA, which is probably a bad idea.
It's half a penny instead of a penny.
Half a penny off the no revenue.
Off of the proposed rate.
Okay, so half the penny off the general fund, M&O, not touching the INS.
Yes.
So if that is, so we've made that, so we can really talk about it.
Yes.
So I would like to ask the staff to kind of give me a little bit of feedback on how they feel about that. But ideally, it's the people out there are saying, well, it's a compromise, but it's really tough because the staff is already compromised. Again, I've sat here for years doing this, and staff is already compromised. We have Mr. Rubal alluded to it, there is a want list of how we get these pieces over the next X number of years. It is out there. Christine's put it together. We have it. And that list, by cutting the city's wants, or their ability to meet the needs, it doesn't really help us a lot. But again, I'm looking for that spirit of compromise. And the fact that you had it, and it says compromise right next to it, really gives me some more fuzzies. It's us getting closer. But the last thing I want is to put that next council into that position of, well, right. We can't fund this item. We can't fund that item. I don't want that. So I really want to hear from staff give me a fit. I told you I had a soapbox on their thoughts on this. Because again, after my kids grew up, we have a splash pad. We have these amazing parks with amazing walking trails. We have all of these things, and my kids are grown now. Why didn't we have that when we were little? Well, because the council couldn't. But we can now, and I don't want to put us back in that position. And I want everybody to understand that the staff is already compromised with their no new revenue rate. It's already compromised there. So when you sit there and say, well, I want you to compromise what you came down to. When I go to negotiate, I already know what I want to pay. I know what they want, what they're asking me for. I look for that middle ground, boom, we're done. Staff has already met at where they thought I wanted to be. And that's where I wanted to be. You want to be lower and probably even lower. But I feel like the 200,000, this is a good request, and I think it's a possibility if staff can give me I can definitely be happier about it.
Would you like me to respond, sir? So Ms. Green has left. not permanently.
See what you did?
Here's what's happened. You've given us an M&O and you've given us a .084, but when the M&O changed, it also changes the amount that you have your interest in sinking fund. So she is going in to run to make sure whatever number that you're giving is sufficient to cover all of the INS that we have upcoming. So give her a chance to work that. You know, that's difficult for us to do because now she's making a decision on the fly. And we're hoping that what she runs is correct and that she doesn't make an error in a short time. But back to your question for the staff. When we had the budget workshop and the budget meeting, we asked for feedback from council and we didn't get any. But our response is that what you decide, we're gonna live with. We're gonna do our best to make it work. There might be a pain point somewhere along the way. It's not our first pain point, we can live with it. So, provided she can check the numbers and the number that you gave is sufficient not only for the general fund, but for the INS rate. Because when you change the M&O, and you all know how it is, if you change one, it can change something down. So, the only thing that we ask is if you just not start throwing any more numbers out and just discuss perhaps the numbers that we have on here, so there is no chance that we make further mistakes by having to do quick math.
Okay, my soapbox, I still have
We're going to do
soapbox.
whatever the council desires.
While she does that, we'll continue to discuss. Are you guys still
Are
you guys still more in the box?
You're
You're in the box.
I'm going on to the next step. So, I understand where I'm trying to answer some of the questions that came out earlier. Everybody's fighting for that because of inflation. Everybody is. And guess the city is too, right? The city also fights that inflation. So it doesn't just magically not affect what the city buys. So the city also has to deal with that. So those cuts that we're making, they're making as well. I do know that I have our business here. I've given my employees raises. I give them a raise. I assume that the city does as well. Yes.
If council allows.
Yes, and we do. So that's another piece of the puzzle that when people say, well, you know, you're not giving up anything. Well, they are, because budgets didn't really increase, but expenditures did. So there is compromise. There are compromises. So again, there's a lot of compromising going on. So now I'm just really curious.
Okay, so if you were to say the M&O is .436882 and the INS is .077500.
You got to slow down.
One more time. .436882 M&O. .077500 would be the INS. And then that would give you the .514382.
So can I ask a question on that? Sorry, I just want to clarify. So the M&O is going up and the INS is going down based on what he said, correct? And I'm asking is, are you using the funds in the debt service, the additional funds in the debt service to get to that .77 number?
To allow us to have the .077500. We're using part of the fund balance.
How much of the fund balance? 315,000 or more?
415.
Okay, so we're basically increasing, and this is probably the only time you're going to be able to do that, is use the excess funds that you have in your debt service fund reserve. You don't want a lot of money in there anyway, to get to the number that you gave us. But understand, you won't be able to do that next year.
Well, next year we won't be able to do because our fund balance requires 3 months reserve.
Why are we taking more from fund balance this year? I mean, that's an option, but
It's in the budget.
It's
But we're
in there
taking
at
415 now, but you're
It's-
saying we're gonna take more than that?
No,
in this
so,
budget?
no.
Okay.
It would be the 415 still, but in order for the rate to be the 415 off the INS, it would be .077500.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm wanting you to understand that we are using debt service reserve to lower the interest and sinking fund number on the overall tax rate. I don't know the simplest way to say that. I know 3 people in the room understand that.
Effectively,
Dipping into the savings account.
well, it's not really a savings account. Unfortunately, my predecessor misallocated funds, and we had an incredible amount of money in our debt service fund. We really don't want that. You only need to get 3 months worth of payment. So in order to draw that down, we've been doing it for last budget and this budget. But what Mrs. Turner's saying is that next year we will not have the option to do so because there won't be enough money for us to draw down, is all.
So since I'm still talking, I hope that everybody that's up here understands the spirit of cooperation and meeting in the middle. That's what we've been tasked to do, and that's what people are saying is I'm tired of hearing y'all bicker and and I get that. And so I think this is a good step for this council, and it's a faithful step that we can show the citizens that, hey, we can work together. And we can see that the other side is meeting me, and I'm not getting my way, they're not getting their ways. And that shows the people that we're willing to work together. And I think that would be a great step for us. So if somebody is still mad about the budget, I get it, and I understand you're allowed to be mad about the budget. I'm mad about my budget too. So, but it's a spirit of cooperation that I really want us to show the citizens. I want to show the developers. I want to show the business owners. Your council is looking to cooperate. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm off my soapbox.
Thank you very much. That was a foot locker.
I just want to make it clear to the audience in case you're not sure, because it's a lot of numbers. So if we do go that half lower in between those 2 numbers, that is a tax decrease for everyone. So it would be lower taxes. I know you're like, it's $100,000, but just letting everyone know that would be a decrease. And so at that point, I said I'd fight for lower taxes. Obviously, I'd get us down to 48 cents if I had my way, but that's not where we're at. So I think that, like Bear said, I think it's a hard compromise, but I think it's better than nothing. Because if the other alternative is for sure we're increasing taxes, then for me, that's not the goal at all. So I'm not against what you're suggesting because it will be a decrease and not an increase in taxes. So that's kind of where I'm standing. I'm just breaking it out for the audience in a little bit simpler terms, so it makes a little bit of sense.
Mr. Vaughan?
I was just gonna say, this is probably the rate that none of us want, which means it might be the right one. So I would say I would support this, and I don't know if you need to amend your motion and just say the numbers that she said, but.
I need to amend my motion to say the number she said.
Correct.
So, really,
You're gonna make me read them again.
No, you're voting on the overall tax rate. I appreciate that you said the M&O and the INS separately. That's how I know that Mr. Vaughan wrote it for you.
Yes, I cheated. I looked at my neighbor's phone.
When we get to the actual adoption, we'll have it broken down for you, and then you have to say it. Right now, you're really just looking at your overall tax rate, and then we'll work out the intricacies of that. Is that correct?
I'd like to amend my motion to remove everything I said about the M&O and the INS.
Okay. Noted and seconded, noted, right?
Second, yes.
Any other comments?
I don't know what I'm going to say, but let's say it anyway. That made no sense. I want to extend the olive branch to the residents and to this council. I think this council can go forward and really do some good work. I'm looking at the city's needs as well, looking at the residents of saving $10 or $5 a year instead of $10 a year, $20 a year. My house would be $30 a year. New tax rate, I'd save $15, right? Dollars a year. And I'm trying to, is that right? I don't know. I'm trying to weigh, yes, it's an olive branch, but that's a third of the library's budget, the 200,000, or some other things. And I do truly believe that there's no waste, that they have gone over it and gone over it and gone over it. And I know that's not a lot in everyone's mind when they're looking at how big our budget is. But if I look at me saving $15 a year, and maybe either our fire department or our police department can have a need to take care of a need that they have, I have to weigh in on that. And it's really hard because I really want us all to compromise and come to that, but it's such a minute change for our residents. It's so minute that it's pennies. They'll see 2 pennies a month, if that. But with the city, it's an expense that they count on, that we need. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I've sat up here for a year and a half, and I know that there have been times where we have bickered back and forth. And I think that has sent the wrong message, that we haven't been a cohesive team to the residents, to each other, to businesses looking at coming into our community. I think the spirit of compromise is a really strong message, and I do think that there's value in really considering that. To Lori's point, it is very small. It's a small compromise, very small in the scheme of our budget. The impact is going to be significant on the city. I mean, not significant, but I don't believe, when we went into this, I felt like what was presented was appropriate. They really did present the best that they could. But the spirit of compromise is a strong message to send today, and I do see value in that. So that's all I have to say.
Mr. Ball, you have comments?
Mr. Mayor, who do we serve? Do we serve the city or do we serve the residents? I'm against the compromise within the budget. I'm going to ask for a point of information from our city manager, and that is, can you cut the budget by 1% without cutting?
That's not a proposal at this time. We have to vote on the table. That doesn't address the vote.
A point of information?
Continue, but just bear in mind that we've already got a proposal to go first. Provide the information.
The point of information is, requested is, can the budget be cut by 1% without affecting critical services or needs of the citizens? Can it be cut by 1% without affecting the police department, without affecting the fire department, without affecting the critical needs of public utilities? 1% without affecting that.
That's the will of the council.
It's the will of the council.
But all that we do ask is if you're going to, whatever rate you determine, that if there has to be a change to the budget in order to have a new balanced budget, that you just allow the staff to determine what it is that's going to be removed. And I'm sorry, Mr. Rubal, that may be the police or the fire or the public works. They are 74% of the budget. Not everything that they have is more critical than what some of the other departments need. They're a team. They need to work on the budget as a team, and they need to decide as the team who is going to compromise, just like all of you. And let me tell you, they're professionals at it. And if you decide that you want to go with the Goolsby Vaughan rate, then, we'll make it happen. But you have to have some trust in us to do that, to determine if there is something in there that can be postponed. I mean, that is intrinsically, that is our job.
Well, we have a motion on the table. I know we're not finished, but we're beating it to death because in order to go forward, we have to cancel this vote.
It's my time. Council members, please consider that we are stewards for our citizens first. Please consider that in your deliberation of this motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I would like to caution the council before I call for the vote. Mr. Rubal says it's true, but we're also responsible for the employees that work for us and for the city, because they're the ones that also carry out the acts that whatever we do up there. So I just want to make sure that we're aware of that. And Mr. Goolsby, you've got one last comment since it's yours.
If you don't mind, thank you, sir. Basically, I understand being a good steward, and I'm back to looking at it as a whole, not a whole. WHOLE. The idea of cutting and continuing to cut and cut some more. Good Lord, I fought for 6 years, 7 years to get to where this city was offering what we could. We don't have a heavy tax, sales tax number that comes to this city. I think everybody that's left here understands that. Our city doesn't get retail tax dollars out the wazoo like all of our local ones. So when everybody compares to the local ones, stop it. Please. I'm asking them. I'm not Selma. I'm not Shirts. I don't have all that I-35 frontage. You see, we don't have that. So please understand that. Stop comparing me to them. I get so tired of that. Even whenever I talk to some of the council members, and we all know who I'm talking about, drive me crazy. So I ask that, and that we have hit a fantastic point in this city. City services are top-notch. Our staff, every one of them, our police officers, even our fire department, good, great people. So it's just good. I think we're in a good spot, and I think that this rate kind of doesn't shift too far off of where we need to be as a city to offer the services that I've been inundated over the last 10 years of people asking for. So I think we're in a good spot.
Okay, I'm going to call for the vote. I guess we're going to be voting on the Goolsby Vaughan tax rate.
0.514328, and I'm sorry, I believe Mr. 382. Mr. Goolsby made the motion. Who made the second? Mr. Vaughan. Thank you.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Goolsby?
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman?
Aye.
Councilmember Putt?
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal?
No.
Of course not.
Motion carries.
So that will be the record vote. That will also be the number that will be bringing back to you on September 3rd. So again, the order is you'll adopt the budget first. We'll notify you of the new numbers and give you an indication of what we have postponed. And so you'll approve the budget, and then you'll approve the tax rate to support the budget.
And that would be
September
the
3rd.
first week, not the first meeting in September.
September 3rd, yes, sir.
Tab B, depository agreement with American Bank.
Give me 1 second. Okay. So typically every 5 years, we like to go out and look at depository agreements to make sure that we're getting the best rates and being charged the least amount of fees. So we did put out a request for proposals. We identified where we advertised, and we also notified several of the larger banking institutions that we have this out. We only received one response back. That was from American Bank. Overall, from the staff, we have found that their fee structure is very good. The interest rate that they provide us is very good. quite frankly, their customer service is top notch. It's the best that we've had. So we are asking the city council to approve another depository agreement with American Bank for the next 5 years.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, and discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Putt.
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Tab C is over. Tab Delta, sorry, tab B.
Charlie?
Tab Charlie is towing and impound
Yes,
services
sir.
agreement contract award to Johnson Garage.
Right, so the city hadn't gone out with an RFP for towing services, gosh, maybe 10 or 15 years, maybe even longer. So we went out with an RFP, much like the depository agreement. We let everybody know what we were doing. The RFP went out. The police department received 2 bids back. The bidder that rose to the top in this particular case was Johnny's Garage, which is the current one that we have a contract with. And so we are recommending that we have a towing and impound service agreement / contract awarded to Johnny's Garage for the next 5 years.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion? Mr. Putt?
Hey, Mayor. I just, in the future, if we have multiple bids, I would like to see a summary in the agenda packet of here are the bids and not all the details, but just a little bit more about
I think if
why.
we had something to compare, we probably would have, but there was no comparison, so, yeah.
In fact, it didn't meet the requirements of the RFP in the first place, but we still gave it a look. See, it really didn't even qualify because it didn't meet the standards, but point making, or point taken.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Putt.
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Tab C. Tab D, Delta, ordinance 406, J, 2024, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Universal City amending ordinance 401I, 2013, drought resistant response plan, and ordinance 406, I-1, 2013, amend stage 2 response, for watch, stage 3 water usage.
Thank you, sir. You might remember a few months ago, Athena Ford kind of gave us an update on water rights and how it all works in Texas and everything of that nature. And if you've been reading the San Antonio Express News, you'll know that lately every city under the world has been changing what they call their drought response plan. Some people call it a water plan. It's really a drought response plan. SAWS recently went through theirs. It had a lot of fines and fees and everything else attached to it. As a staff, we don't feel like we need to go into that particular grade, but for TCEQ rules now, they wanted us to have a meeting where residents could come and hear about the plan, provide us some feedback, and then to make some changes to our plan and then re-adopt it. So what you have before you is a culmination, all of that information. I do want to point out on page 12 of 17, you have just that one page before you. There was an additional wording that was changed within that document. If council is amenable and wants to hear it, we can have our consultants and staff give you a presentation on the process and what they heard back from the residents, or if you want to move straight to approval, that's at the discretion of the council.
Move to approve as changed.
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Rubal?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Basically, under the restrictions, essentially there's a water policy that's associated with a once per week watering. I think at the open meeting, essentially, this was brought up as an option by a resident, which I think you and your staff, Randy, approved. There was consideration at that time about residents who may not have sprinklers but may have alternative methods, and that there was a requirement for a waiver process.
Has that been worked out, Randy? So that if, again, a resident has a tractor sprinkler or essentially there'll be some concession for that or something?
There's no waivers for tractor sprinklers. Basically, you have to monitor that. So it's no different than using your irrigation system, handheld hose. You have to manually move it around and stuff like that. So there is no, I think what was explained is they use water harvesting, and you only have so much of that water to use out of it. The rest of it is supplemented by using our Edwards water that we furnish. And so in that case, you don't know when they're using the harvest water or the Edwards water. There's no way to monitor that to even give a variance for that type of stuff.
And Randy, may I continue, Mr. Mayor? Essentially, there's a provision for car washes that recycle 75% of their water. If I have 75% of 1 million, okay, essentially that's still 250,000 gallons of water that does not have to be recycled. So the question there is, are we sensitive to the utilization volume, or are we fixed on a rate that can be used for recycling? Does that make sense, what I'm asking? So essentially, Universal City has a plethora of car washes compared to other places. And basically, I know not all of them recycle water at this point in time. So basically, the general question is, would a $100,000 gallon user, or we'll make it even more, $1 million gallon user, okay, be still in business using 250,000 gallons under the current rate?
Still be in business? No, I wouldn't say that.
Well, basically, the provision is for allowing for the car washes with 75% recycle to be still operational under drought conditions. So basically, if we have residents that are only washing their clothes and washing their faces, kind of type thing, yet we have a car wash that is using more water than a cluster of residents, the percentage doesn't seem appropriate.
Well, when car washes are built, they have to prove to them that they're recycling their water. That's how it's proven by the plans that they submit to us. When homeowners doing it, they would have to follow that same criteria. If they were to build in a system that would harvest X amount of water, and then that's what we would have to evaluate, that type of system. We're not set up that way right now for residential, but on the commercial we are.
I think too, Mr. Rubal, that maybe the other half of your question is there a separate and higher rate that gets charged for businesses because they use more water like car washes? And the answer to that is yes. A car wash is going to pay a lot more money for their water than a resident would. So if you were a car wash and you had your million and you were only having to backfill $250,000, the rate at which you pay per gallon for your water will be less than if you were putting in the full $1 million. I mean, if you're over $400,000 right now for a commercial car wash, they're paying $21 a gallon. But if they're only putting in 250,000 gallons, they're only paying $10.85 per gallon. So the ones that aren't recycling the car washes are paying a much higher rate for their water.
Was that correct? $10 per gallon? Is that what you're saying?
It's portable water. How does that work? Volume
They can't.
some
I
domestic.
don't think they would be in business.
$10.85.
That must be
I'm sorry, it's per 1,000. My fault. Per 1,000. I mean, per 1,000. You were right. They would be out of business probably. Per 1,000.
And the final thing, Randy, on the plan is essentially where SAWS gives us, and currently we're at a potential for a 21% reduction in pumping allotment if this dry condition continues to the end of the year. At stage 3, if it goes to stage 4, the percentage will increase, the way I understand it, as a cutback for the next year. So one of the questions that I have has to deal with essentially the city's waiver of the city's water use, which is implied by use on fields and use in the golf course. And I saw some wording changes that it would move from your decision to waiver to the city manager's decision to waiver. But perhaps at that level, that drought level, essentially the waiver should be at the level of council be a buffer for the people at that level, if that makes any sense.
Well, council's not watching the usage every day like we are. So we should, at our level, should be watching and granting the waivers if we can give a waiver or not on the various stages. But talking about the golf course, that's on reuse of water. It's not even affected by this ordinance at all.
It actually is defined within your drought agreement.
There's terms in there about golf courses. It's in there in case the golf course were to convert over, which we don't see that ever happening. But that's one of the guidelines that we have to have in this ordinance.
So you can see my concern that was in there for that. And perhaps you can see my concern that essentially the city isn't independently monitoring the absolute waiver right on behalf of the citizens that are doing the rest of the carrying the burden for the drought. So those were my concerns. So that's all.
Yeah. And moving on, I mean, we got this full presentation. You may have some more questions, but we'll go through the presentation if you have any more.
Yeah, if the council wants, we can go through the presentation.
Call for the vote. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, just real quick. I just wanted to thank Randy and city staff because like Adjournment Council, a lot of people said that they went to this meeting and it looks like you took almost all of their feedback and put it into that, and I very much appreciate that. The only hiccup was, and I think Maribel's now fixing it, is that they'd signed up for the text alerts and they didn't get it about this meeting. But it sounds like she's fixed that now because this was like a weird thing. And so I also want to thank her for doing that, because these are like the kind of meetings that I think you all would want a text message or an email for, so that you can go, as opposed to finding it on social media and then only having 1 day notice. But I do want to thank, like I said, because everyone in that room was very, supportive and appreciated that when that drought plan came back, it had their suggestions in it. And like I said, I'm not always negative, so thanks. It was a positive thing, and that just wanted to share and say thank you. That's it.
Yes.
And just a brief comment on the notifying people. I don't know, is there a plan to use the alert system to also say like we're now in stage 4 or stage 3, or
yes,
if we can blast it as much as possible? I know it's in the gateway, but not everybody gets it, and not everybody's on the look face thing.
So under Blackboard Connect, we also advised people when we were under stage 4, the Civic Ready has that same capability. But again, if you don't sign up, you're not going to get the alert. There's my on the Civic Alert one more time. Thank you, sir.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Putt.
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Tab E, Ordinance 525X 2024, Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Universal City, revising 525U 2021, Schedule A, base rates, modification rates exhibiting, so on and so forth.
Thank you, Mayor. And our 5-year contract with Waste Management for municipal solid waste, there is a provision in there for their annual CPI adjustment. They did change the way that they did that in this contract, and it's just part CPI and part fuel adjustment, which has actually turned out fine because it actually reduces the overall increase. Right now, and I gave you their calculations and the number that they used. So we're looking at a 60 cents per month increase for this year. Now, I don't want anybody to think that you're actually approving their CPI. That's already been approved through the process. We're asking you to approve it so that we can get the appropriate rates onto our code of ordinances. So when people are looking it up online, they have it for them. And then that way, what we charge on the bill matches what's online.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Putt.
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Tab F, ordinance 149M3109-2024, water rates.
Sir, as we went through the budget process, Mr. Grady Reed, who is our rate consultant, went through water, sewer, and stormwater, gave you our 5-year trend, 5-year looking forward, and council has given the staff the nod to go ahead and do that. So that's going to take effect in October billing. So we need to get this on the books so that we can get our computer system changed off. So for these next 3 ordinances, that is what is occurring on these items.
Any motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got the second. Discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Putt.
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Tab G, ordinance 149M3209-2024, sewer rates.
Same.
Second.
Who's the first?
Lori. Mayor Pro Tem, and seconded by Ms. Butt.
Or vice versa.
Vice versa.
Vice versa?
Yeah.
First vice versa.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem approved, I guess. I mean, I seconded.
I was the second, yeah.
Discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Putt.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Tab H, ordinance 570D, 2024, stormwater rates.
Not the same. This one has no increase on it, but our ordinances all track together, so we would like you to reapprove the old one so that we can track our ordinances numbers succinctly.
Move to approve.
Second.
Vice versa. Discussion, call for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Putt.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That was over. Now, in conclusion, before I adjourn the meeting, I would like to thank the staff for the hard work you did and the quick reaction to come in with a compromise, the citizens for your input, and a special thank you for the council for discussing this and coming together today. I do appreciate it. I know it's kind of hard. We've still got another ways down the road, but we're getting there, and I do appreciate it very, very much. And with that being said, adjourn. I out. 8:36.
Oh, yeah.